Alright, I think we are back. Yeah. So the memory of this virtual machine I was running on was 4 gigabytes, but I have 16 in the host system. So I gave it 8 and 2 processors, whereas I have like 4 cores. So 50% of what I have here in the host machine is going to be the 50% to the virtual machine as well. Now we can power on the machine. My host machine is Windows 11. I have recently updated it. It was on 10. As 10 has ended its support, Microsoft is not supporting that operating system anymore. I had to eventually. On top of it, I have bypassed it because TPM is there. TPM log is available on this machine, but it has the i5-6300U processor, which doesn't support Windows 11. But I'm not facing any sort of issues, and I'm pretty sure that I'll not, because even if the kind of work I do is like hardcore, but this is not. Microsoft has a lot of excuses actually. You know, to stay as the king of. They don't want to leave that throne away. No, they want that throne. They want to be there forever, and it's a business. Fine, but if I install an operating system on an unsupported system, it doesn't make any difference. Yeah, maybe one or two applications that you want to run won't run, and you can't do like a lot of heavy duty stuff like 3D visualizations and all sort of things. I mean you can still do it, but it'll lag a lot. Let's go to the full screen mode here, and I think it's yeah, people can see it. Why not found? Dude, I just gave you like extra 4 gigs of RAM. Don't do this. At least now you have to be a little quicker because you were running on 4, I gave you 8. So how do you becoming a Linux power user? read the history. So yeah, let's become a power user then. Let me just fire up Ubuntu first. Yeah, cool. Give it some time to open up, but still it should be apt, like kind of quick to do it because I have just increased its RAM. I cannot just allocate 16 or 16 gigs of the host machine will burn the fuck out of it. I think we are good to go. So using the shell. In this chapter we learn understanding the Linux shell, using the shell from consoles or terminals, using commands, using command history and tab completion, connecting and expanding commands, understanding variables and aliases, making shell settings permanent, and using the man pages and other documentation. So before icons and windows took over the computer screen, you typed commands to interact with most computers. On Unix systems, from Linux was derived, the program used to interpret and manage commands, which were referred as the shell. So no matter which Linux distribution you are using, you can always count on the fact that the shell is still available to you. Not something like writing the. This is too much. Okay. The Linux shell illustrated in this chapter will called as the bash shell, which is born again shell. The name is derived from the fact that bash is compatible with one of the earliest Unix shell, the Bourne shell, named after its creator Stephen Bourne, and represented by the sh command. Although bash is included with Ubuntu and considered as a standard, other shells are available, including the C shell, CSH, which is a very popular among BSD Unix users, and the cron shell, which is popular among Unix system versus users. Now, Ubuntu uses the dash shell by default at a boot time, which is designed to perform faster than the bash shell. Linux also has a TCSH shell and improvised C shell. I mean, the C shell is C. It is written in the programming language C. And Ash shell, which is another Bourne shell. Ubuntu has more than one shell available for use in this chapter. However, focuses primarily on the bash shell. That is because Ubuntu uses the bash shell by default when you open a terminal window. The following are the few major reasons to learn how to use the shell. You will learn to get around any Linux or other Unix-like systems, which is the first reason. For example, with strong shell skills, you can be equally productive in any about just Linux server, home router, or even a Mac computer. You can even log in and run commands on the Android phone. They're all running this Linux or similar systems on the inside. Special shell features enable you to gather. There's so much sh going on. Gather data input and direct data output between commands and Linux file systems. To save on typing, you can find, edit, repeat commands from the shell history. Many power users hardly touch a graphical interface. All they do is from the terminal. Now you can gather commands into a file using programming constructs such as conditional tests, loops, case studies. Many Linux administrations use a shell scripts to automate tasks such as backing up data, monitoring log files, or checking system health. So basically, the shell is a command language interpreter, which means that you can communicate with the computer using the language that the computer speaks. It is Bash in this case. Then we have about shells and terminal windows. It's a long fucking. The default prompt for a regular user is simply a dollar sign, and for the root user, it's a pound sign or the number sign or a hashtag. So if you open the terminal, terminal. So this is how the terminal looks. Now we can do a package update, which is sudo apt update. It'll ask for the password to show it on the display, but just like this it works. Try again. Why? Sudo apt. Oh, how is that even possible, man? Really? Really, I'm that high on Red Bull? Or the caps? Wait. No. Caps is not open. So what? So it's such a silly mistake that I was making. I had to leave the release the shift button after a certain point of time, but I didn't. So numerically, it was going wrong. So by sudo apt update this command, all the packages of your Linux operating system will update itself. You always need an internet connection, by the way. Now let's learn how to install TOR. How to install TOR? I need a good tutorial, not just like we can watch a video as well. But again, even if I gave it extra RAM, the difference is, and it's because of streaming. I know the moment I'll stop streaming, it doesn't just run; it flies after that. We have to open a terminal in that window. Okay, let's just follow all the steps one by one. Navigate to the this thing. All right. Yes, we do, and then right click and open in terminal. Start start hyphen tor again hyphen browser dot deb no dot desktop dot desktop, no such directory. mm, nope. So we have to first check what the file name is. You can just copy the whole the name. I'll just try opening it once more on terminal. Why the fuck it is not working? Like yesterday, it was open all the time. Like I kept my system on sleep. It was not even shut down properly, completely. But it was still there. But what the fuck? Okay, so first we open the official documentation from the TOR project. Then we'll dig more deeper, and I want to dig so deep. That is why I'm so much into installing the Tor browser, which is not what the fuck. I mean, it's a shame. This is data. Is this here only? It will not open, and let's wait. I told you this will not work. To install TOR, you need a root. Hash. Hashtag. Apt install TOR. But how do I? Wait, let me open ChatGPT instead of Google. System requirements. Alright, you already have everything that. Start browser.desktop file to launch the browser. That's it. It's a graphical method, and I have been trying it for so long. Still doesn't open. How to verify the file signature? How to do it in Linux? Copy this to the terminal. I don't see any difference between putting extra RAM into it. Run as a program. GPG refresh keys. This GPGV good signature from TOR browser developer sign-in key. Okay, the command should show like this. Okay, but my file is already x86 to 64. Terminal paste. Again failed. Let's just check the file name. Right. Now I know why it is not. I said if you change x86 to 64, if you have the 32-bit package. This is my file folder name. Just type it all in. GPGB keyring dot tor dot keyring. Then you have this wave kind of a character that we always have in computers, and then go to downloads. Now I have to paste the file name because mine is 14.5.8 and the documentation has the volume of version 13. Again, no dot downloads, again forward slash, again what I just copied and pasted, this particular version. The su command requires you to put in root password. Root user on Ubuntu is generally is locked, so no user can log in as root. Thus, su is not likely to work. For sudo s to work, you will have to be the part of admin group on Ubuntu machine, which apparently you're not. And if you are the only user on the system, this is not the kind of answer. It's a stack exchange, yeah, not stack overflow. Although the same. Okay, so password root. We can try it with this. It's like sudo root. Then go ahead to set the password. Use the root using now we have root access. Yes. Finally we got the root access, and it's a difficult operating system. Definitely it is. Like you have to do so many extra sort of things. In Windows you just install the package and you're good to go. But not in this one. Now comes verifying the signature, which you don't need, but it is recommended. On their documentation, it is recommended. We spend so much time on the computer. There's a joke. Dead Mouse May said on his Sean Ryan version podcast that he wanted to be unhealthy, hunched over a computer over his in his 40s, and I think this is something gonna happen to me as well, like unhealthy and still hunched onto the computer. Alright, so how can I verify Tor browser signature? Digital signature is a process ensuring that a certain package was generated by its developers and has not been tampered with. Below we explain why it is important and how to verify that Tor browser you download is the one we have created as and not been modified by some attacker. Each file on our download page is accompanied by a file labeled signature, which means the name as the package or the extension ASC. These ASC files are open PGP signatures. They allow you to verify the file you have downloaded is exactly the one that we intended you to get. This will vary by the web browser, but generally you can download this file by right clicking the signature link and okay. So do we have a file like that? Let's check the downloads page. Save link as let's see, save. So I've saved it now. Okay, so now let's see if the file works. It's in downloads. This is the PGP key. .tor browser .desktop. Run as a program. Still not working. So how do we open it? I've tried so many. I don't know. I was like literally, it was open yesterday, and it's available on the stream as well. I had it open for like overnight because I put the computer on sleep. It was not shut down. In the morning, it was running, and now it's not. Okay. Probably have a system. GNU Linux distribution comes with pre-installed. Take this command and paste it as. Okay, then you should see something like this. Created. Okay. I got my signing key. After a point of time, it starts hurting even if I'm not listening to any music right now because of the frame. It's quite thick. Now let's run the fingerprint file. Now I can like apt install TOR. Yes. So I think finally now we have TOR installing. So what we got to learn here is like to install anything you need to have the root access first. Thanks to the person on Stack Overflow who posted the answer there. Like, is it installed now? Now if I try to run this, while it is still not showing that it is installed or not, but enable the TOR project package repository by the following instructions. Okay, why and how can I enable TOR package repository in Debian? Here's how you can enable. Step 1, install this. I don't know. Wait a second, I'm just coming. So right back, I don't think so. We have still gotten the private and public key here. Let's run sudo apt update first as root. God, installing TOR is such a pain in the ass in this. And in Windows, you'll just open a package, setup installs, and you can run the service. Apt install tor dev.tor project .org keylink. Unable to locate package dev. This why it is hitting from the E drive. are we doing wrong? Even VS Code ran that way. Start TOR browser dot desktop. Let's try install should we delete it and then download all the files again? Yeah, let's do that. Let's just delete all the currently downloaded files and re-download them again. Crash. Let's go to the download page and see has something for us. I think I'll just drop the commentary for a while, try figuring out how it works. I need some music. I'm gonna play a song.
it just a fantasy? 'Cause the unknown's pulling me. We could leave this place, freedom ours to chase. What if I escape with you? 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 What if I escape
So this is some YouTube video which is of 6 minutes, and we are trying to debug this from the last 3 hours, I guess. Yeah, it's already 1 o'clock.
The first thing you need to do is to update your Linux Ubuntu installation. This is always a good idea before installing any application. So I'm gonna do this very quickly. I'm gonna open the terminal. So I clicked on the applications on the left here, on the bottom left, and then just type in terminal in the search box and then click terminal. And I'm gonna update it with one command. So sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade -y, hit enter, put the password for your user and then hit enter again, and the updating will start. And here I updated it before, so it took seconds only. And now keep the terminal window open, just minimize it and open your browser and go to torproject.org and hit enter. And here click on download Tor browser and choose Linux and choose save file and then click OK. And here's the file being downloaded. Let's check the progress. It should download like very fast. Of course, it depends on your internet connection speed. And here it's almost finished.
In fact, I have took the root
So let's
access and
open the
updated all
folder,
the
click on the
packages.
icon here. It will open the folder where it was downloaded.
There is one
Usually
bug
it is
with this.
downloaded under the downloads folder. And now we need to extract
Yes.
the Tor browser that was downloaded. So I'm gonna extract it under my documents folder and make sure to extract it in a permanent folder. So don't delete or change the folder afterwards. To do this, just right click on it and choose Open with Archive Manager. And here select it and then click Extract. And choose the location where you want to extract it. So I'm going to extract it under Documents. And then I'm going to create a folder here. So click on the plus sign. And I'm just going to create a folder called Tor. And then click on Create. And now you see Tor under Documents is selected. And just now click on Extract here. So it will be extracted.
Fucking mic.
And then click on Close.
Wiring.
So we finished here. Just click on
Cable
Close
management of
everything.
this disk is very
Even
bad.
close your Firefox browser. And then go back to the terminal window. Let me clear the screen. Now that Tor browser is downloaded and extracted, we still need to register the application so to be able to launch it. And when we register the application, it will appear under the applications here. So let me do this. In the terminal window, you need to go to the folder where you extracted Tor. So key in cd space documents, hit enter. And here cd space Tor, hit enter. And we still need to go under this folder, Tor browsers. If you just write cd space Tor and press on tab on your keyboard, it will populate the command for you. So hit enter. And here we need to perform this command to register the application. So here's the command, /start Tor browser desktop -- register -app and hit enter. And now it was registered. As you see, Tor browser has been registered. So we don't need the terminal window anymore. Let me close it. And now you can find your Tor browser here. The command /start Tor browser desktop -- register -app and hit enter. And now it was registered. As you see, Tor browser has
Okay. Browser dot desktop -- register app. No such file or directory. CD download. I'm already in the TOR terminal. Let's just close terminal. Close Firefox as well. And now try to open it. Run as a program. this said lubug. New file just appeared out of nowhere. Start TOR disk. Start TOR desktop. Should I make a straight up comment? Start TOR, not comment, command browser, or start TOR browser. Command not found. Sudo start TOR browser dot desktop. This is not a command. Version this as a program. It is still knows why. Well, I'm bored of it now. I need a break. Let me just go get fresh for a while and then come back, work on something else. We're not giving up. We're just taking a break because too much mental energy has been used. There is something that I might be doing wrong, and that might be just one single step. And this is what it is when you learn everything on yourself. You're not taking help from any documentation. I mean, yes, documentation to kind of install the thing and everything, but you're not taking help from any forum where whatever. I mean, whatever help we could take, we are taking from Stack Overflow, Stack Exchange, but doing it on ourselves. So I need to power off this, take a break, maybe work on some music, and I'll just write back. Or maybe read the book. Haven't हो रहा है ऐसा. So I'm back, freshened up, using the shell prompt. If your Linux system has no graphical user interface, or one that is working at the moment, you will most likely see a shell prompt. Typing in commands from the shell. Can you just silently read this for a while? I don't hate colors, by the way. Okay, let me do a new screen capture if I can edit. No, not screen capture. Webcam. None. Well, now you can see me clearly. Have to do something about this cable wiring. Cable management is very bad. Alright, add filter none. What else you had? This okay, sepia tone was something which I wanted to do yesterday, like a Martin Scorsese movie or something. But as I don't hate colors, I froze it up. Return to the preferences. give me a break. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I went to make myself a cup of green tea, which is now brewing. So till that time, which is like a couple of minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, we just go through what I was reading. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Anybody here uses Tumblr? I use Tumblr a lot. I write a lot. Writing is a way of healing myself. There are two variables that I use the most. Is one is music, and the second one is writing. Yeah. When you do a lot of hardcore programming stuff, I think a break is important where you're like making music. Any other hobby of yours will do. It's not, nothing is mandatory at all. If you think it is not. It's really not. Depends upon you what gives you the joy and peace. For me, it's music. Making music, mixing music, listening to it all day long. So while I'm done with my green tea, which is brewing now, I'll start reading this book and I'll play some something in the background. I'll not be speaking for a while. This book is Ubuntu Linux Bible. You can see me reading it on the screen. I'll read it really slow so that you can grasp everything. I have a comment here. So if I have to say something, I can just make a comment. Like for example, did you read the page? I can post it. Similarly, you guys can also comment. I think the tea must have been brewed by now. Let me just get it back. If I show you my complete setup, it is like a ruckus here. I use two devices simultaneously. One is not, one's monitor is not needed at this point of time, so it is. But the system is running, it's a server. As I was trying to home lab, I want to check more home labbing systems. Let's just do that first. Fire up, Chrome up. Here's my green tea. Very fucking hot. Let's read about home labbing for a while. Now, home labbing is a setup or a setting up a personal self-controlled IT environment home to learn, experiment, and have fun with technology like servers, networks, and software. Nerd shit. Oh god, this guy built a rack of different servers. I think I was browsing the interwebs looking for information on creating a server hosting PC, and I stumbled upon this lovely little corner of the internet. So, on one hand, my question is, as the title states, on the other hand, are there any sources of information for creating a server hosting PC? I'm planning to host game servers, doing my web hosting, or perhaps some cloud storage too. I'm also trying to learn how to code. Python, being in my entry language, very little progress so far. With regards to experience, it should be relevant. I have virtually no experience. Alright, so this guy wants to home lab. And if we are being honest, home labbing is the process of building out large, power-hungry enterprise-class server storage, but networking at home. And I'm not like I have not ripped a lot of Blu-rays, although I have a lot of movies, a lot of FLAC. My whole music library is FLAC. I used to use Plex as a server, which I still use. I think Plex is there in my system, but something has happened to that particular hard drive where I had like all the movies and the music, but it still works. Like it is slow, but it works. Maybe let me show you the drive. So this is the drive. It's an external XDD. It's pretty warm right now, and it is fired up. It's running. I can feel the clusters vibrating inside. So this is where all the movies and music are stored, and this is like nothing more than 1 terabyte. And I'm using this laptop to power up. Alright, it's a mess here. Like I have my cigarette packets, ashtray, lighter, some Borolin because I am a smoker and my lips go dry really fast. Then I have a remote for the screen, the big screen that I'm using. It's a TV, it's a smart TV that is connected to HDMI from here, and there on the other end, this is connected to HDMI via VGA router. There's this person 5 years ago. It's a really old post. If you want to get things up and running smoothly and easily, go with another company to host for you. If you're willing to learn, get an old PC that you'll be willing to leave on 24/7 and set up the services for yourself. I, for example, use Docker to sign up services relatively easy and painlessly. So home labbing is basically just some IT devices set up in someone's house that do a variety of different things configured to the personal users. For one setup, there is media server, the download films, blah 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 blah. Nated, as far as no, yeah, NAT is what do you call it? Network attached storage. It's NAS actually. It's not NAT. It's NAS. Network attached storage. Network Network attached storage is nothing but just multiple storage devices running at one place, which is from your home. Let's see some home labbing setups. It's 92%. Whoa, this looks crazy. I think this guy is using true NAS. This dude, I think, started from root. He had some old PCs lying around his house, and he connected a. He usually built a service, and this looks like someone from India. How? Because I could identify the corners and the flooring. It looks a lot of like much like India. Let's watch this video.
Hey everybody, this is Christian, and in this video I'm going to tell you how to start your home lab journey. It's the coolest hobby you can have as a tech enthusiast, and if you're working in IT, trust me, getting that hands-on experience will skyrocket your IT career. But I know if you're just about to start this journey and you might see all these incredible home lab builds from other people, I mean, just follow some of the big tech creators here on YouTube, you know what I'm talking about, then you can get quite overwhelmed and maybe even confused where to begin. So that's why I wanted to make this video, to shed some light on all this weird tech we're using in a home lab and share my best practices on how to start your home lab journey. I hope this is gonna be valuable to you. Building your home lab is such a great way to get hands-on experience in IT, but it is also important to learn the fundamentals and get recognized in the industry. And let me point you to a fantastic resource to master all these cool and exciting topics we are learning in a home lab, the Simply Learn's DevOps Engineer Master Course, which covers deployment methodologies, CI/CD pipelines, tools like Git, Docker and Jenkins, and many more valuable skills. With this course, you can become a DevOps engineer, which is one of the most demanding roles in IT right now, with an average salary of $95,000 per year. The course is well established and has over 40,000 reviews. You can see by reading those that all of this video. Okay, so let's get back to topic, and before I start giving you some specific tips for building a home lab, let's first clarify what exactly is a home lab. A home lab is basically a playground to learn more about information technology and experiment with all sorts of IT equipment. A lot of people use it for educational purposes, such as learning how to build professional computer networks or experiment with different operating systems like Linux and Windows, while others might want to drill into self-hosting and build their own applications at home. A home lab can literally be anything you want, and it varies from just a small Raspberry Pi to a gigantic data center that allows you to run any kind of workloads in a high available setup. Really, the sky is the limit, and maybe the money on your bank account. I know, I hope I got you excited and you want to build a home lab yourself. The only question that might come up now is, how exactly do you do that and where should you start? Let's make it simple. There are, in my opinion, 3 essential areas or topics you will always find in a home lab. It's hardware, software, and networking. If you're starting a home lab, you should have a good plan about all those 3 areas and what it is that you'd like to achieve. And let's start talking a bit about hardware. So how do you decide what devices you should use and buy to build your home lab? Don't worry if that's an area where you don't have much experience yet. I'm also not the smartest guy when it comes to hardware, honestly. For beginners or people with a lower budget, the most simple and easiest way would be to just use the hardware or equipment that you have right now. Really, you can use any program like VirtualBox or Microsoft Hyper-V, which are all free for you to download, and then install a virtual machine to make this your first home lab server. This allows you to start your experiments without damaging the system you're working on. But of course, if you are a bit more serious about building a dedicated home lab because you like to run it 24/7 or self-host applications or providing a file storage, well, then it's useful to pick another separate machine for that. For example, if you have an old desktop or gaming PC lying around, you can just use this as your new home server to breathe new life into it. And this is not just a great opportunity for beginners. For example, I personally also like to run all of my home servers on desktop PC hardware. Of course, you have to keep some things in mind, like how much memory do you need or how many SATA ports and PCI Express slots the mainboard should have, for example. Especially if you're planning to build a storage server and connect multiple hard drives together, it can get a bit tricky by times. But also in the past, I've used any other desktop mainboards with AMD or Intel CPUs as home servers, and I never had any issues, even though I'm running many virtual machines and workloads on those.
I am running this from a Dell Latitude E5470. It is completely depends on what are you trying to achieve. Alright, I mean, you can create a home lab with a device like this. Just like what? 24 gigs of RAM, a little bit customized, running a virtual machine and everything. Because I don't even have a whole that much bandwidth for a network here. I have, like I told you, this 1 terabyte disk, and I think somewhere around 100 GB I have my movies, and somewhere around 50 to 60 or 80 gigs of music. Music that much because all of the collection is FLAC. They're all free lossless audio codec. So that is why it takes that much space, and that's it. I don't play games anymore. I mean, I do have Steam installed, and I have also the game installed, but I don't play. I don't know, but I mean, I don't have much time to sit on a video game again, but I have it around, and I don't play multiplayer, so I don't have to build a network for that as well. My home living server system is very simple because all of that data that I have, which I'm telling you about, I can access through my phone. My parents, my family can check, if they want to. If they want to watch a movie or something on their own device, they can, browse it from here. And don't have to keep the lid open all the time. You don't have to. But yeah, you have to keep it running 24/7. If you're doing something like maybe watching a movie during midnight and something like that, you have to keep it running all the time. So this machine is always on with a charger, with nothing much more than a monitor, just to manage all the disk spaces, defragmentation, and to clear cache files and everything like that. Other than that, this is the mainframe, this is the main work console. Also sometimes my music console, because I also make music on this one, the server as well. Both are like running through I wish I could just show you guys. If I have to, maybe Streamlabs is available for on Android, then I'll show you. Streamlabs, it definitely is as expected. I'll show you what kind of a mess I'm always around with. Yes, so to communicate to that server, I have installed a separate hardware keyboard, because as I said, I don't have to keep the lid open all the time, and I have to type something, to surf on the internet, or to find an application in my computer, or do anything. You need a keyboard. At first I was using the on-screen internal keyboard, but it was not up to the mark, so then I got myself nothing but a cheap, very cheap, because this is not my daily driver. My daily driver keyboard is like pretty good from this ThinkPad that I'm using, but this is like just to put commands on this machine here. Now what is my Streamline ID? Okay, let's see. Watch this.
Devices. Now, if you're interested in smaller and even more power efficient setups, I can also recommend the Raspberry Pi, which is a small, affordable single board computer that can be used for various types of projects. I've also tested here on this channel the Zima board. So this is a similar computer like the Raspberry Pi, but it is a real x86 architecture CPU, and it is also very power efficient. I'm running this little thing in my home lab to keep some services like my IoT controllers or my DNS servers always online, even when my bigger machines go to sleep. But also running thin clients or buying some smaller mini computers is a great alternative to start your home lab with a lower budget. However, you should keep in mind that those machines usually don't have too much power. They are probably fine to run a few smaller applications, but if you need more power and the desktop PC hardware is a bit too boring for you, maybe you like to get a little crazy in your home lab, there's also a lot of bigger, more professional server equipment around, like the Dell PowerEdge series, for example, which you can get in all different sizes and configurations for your home lab. you can get as much power as you need. Also, the HP Pro Line series is very well known, and I'm telling you a little secret here, because if you don't need the latest and greatest versions of those servers, you can get some pretty cheap deals on eBay here and there. A lot of companies usually retire their data center equipment every few years, and since they don't really know what to do with them, they're just selling them as old and refurbished on eBay, although they are fully functional most of the time. So the investment cost for professional server equipment doesn't necessarily have to be that expensive, and there are a few benefits you typically only get with these. Like the ability to manage them over the network, which is really nice even when the devices are powered off, or redundant components such as dual power supplies, dual CPUs, ECC memory support, and those kind of things. Now, I personally, and I know many people will disagree with me here, but I'm not super excited about using those professional servers for my home lab. Those professional servers
are not for homes, like homes. These huge stacks of networks are built for different purposes. So always know what you want to do with it. As I'm again, I'll show you. This is one laptop, and many people have done this. There's this other guy who had some HP or IBM ThinkPad laying around. He built a server out of it at home. So the sky is the limit, and you should also know like how far you want to fly. What is wrong with it? Well, yes, this is the email. So there's some personal information out of it which I would not like to show. So I'm moving to a different window.
because especially the rack versions can get so noisy and so power hungry. In Germany, electricity prices have just exploded recently. It's not very efficient for me to run professional server equipment. But yeah, if you have a separate room maybe in the basement and you don't care about your electricity bill, it can be really nice to get your hands on this professional server equipment and build your own data center at home. Even if it's just to flex, that's totally fine. But yeah, that should give you a great overview of all the different options you have to build your home lab. It can get from small and power efficient devices such as Raspberry Pis, mini computers or thin clients, to medium and advanced builds with desktop PC hardware, all up to the crazy professional server equipment you can use. In the end, it's totally up to you what you want to do and how much money you want to invest in your home lab. Now, let's come to the second area you should think about when building a home lab, which is the software you want to run. Of course, one big question that comes up here is what type of operating system you want to install on your new home server. Should it be Windows or Linux? And if so, which distribution should you pick? But also, which applications and services you're planning to deploy and whether you're going to install them directly on the server or if you want to run them in a container. There are many vital options you have here, and it can be quite overwhelming to find out where to start. So let me tell you what I personally would do. If you know me, guys, I'm a huge fan of Proxmox, an open source hypervisor platform based on Linux KVM. I'm using this on all of my main home servers to run all sorts of workloads like virtual machines, containers, storage, everything. And I really believe it is such a great system for both beginners but also advanced users. But also many other systems that have a hypervisor on board like TrueNAS, Unraid, Windows Server or XPNG are a great fit for a home lab operating system. You can just install those systems directly on your server hardware, and it allows you to test and play around with all sorts of different operating systems without damaging your main system. If you want to try out a new Linux distro, no problem, just create a new virtual machine and start playing around with it. It also allows you to split certain types of applications into different systems. Like on my Proxmox cluster, I'm running an application server, a database server, some container orchestration servers, a Windows domain controller, and I also have many other demonstration servers where I can just play around with anything that I like. By the way, if you want to get some more details about all those different options like Proxmox, TrueNAS, Linux or Windows, then check out my video about the best home server operating system. There I've talked about this topic in much more detail. Of course, I will leave you a link.
For me, VMware works. Although I haven't tried Windows NT, which is the server version of Windows. But we can Windows NT operating system. Let's watch a review, I think. Review. Windows Server versus regular Windows, how different they are.
You probably already know about the different versions of Windows like Home Edition, Pro, even Enterprise.
Yeah.
But there is another version of Windows for a very different kind of computer, which is called Windows Server. And while you may have heard of it, I ask you, how much do you really know about it? For me, the answer was basically nothing, so I decided to find out, not just by doing some research, but also by installing it myself and poking around for the most interesting stuff, which I'll show you. Turns out there are plenty of tools exclusive to Windows Server that we'll see, like a server manager, which is a major part, as well as, for example, an admin center to control almost every aspect of the server through a web interface. So I think you'll find this interesting, and by the end you'll have a much better idea of how Windows Server is used. Of course, when it comes to your computer, there are things way more important than the version of Windows you have, like all those important pictures and critical documents that all of you have totally backed up, right? Right? Well, not to worry, it's not too late, which is where today's sponsor comes in, Crucial. You probably know Crucial as a long-standing leader in RAM and storage manufacturing. In fact, I did put their RAM in my new computer I just built before they even sponsored this video. So Crucial produces a wide selection of SSD storage drives, including their X6 and X8 external SSDs and P5 Plus, an internal NVMe SSD. And while today is actually World Backup Day, yes, that's a thing, these drives are good for much more than just backing up. The X6, for example,
There's World Backup Day. That's something new. This is something new that I'm hearing. Like backup,
is really small.
You back up all your laptops and computers and even phones. Maybe.
But with a big. And with all that being said, let's continue. Alright, first things first, let's see what it's like for the installation process of Windows Server. So I'm using an ISO of the latest version, Windows Server 2022, and just putting it on a virtual machine. You can see there are actually two server editions possible here, the standard Windows Server and the Data Center edition, which is the more expensive one. So let's go with that. The main difference from a regular Windows installation though, is here you can actually choose to install either with a desktop experience or not, which is the graphical user interface. So that means you could run the server totally headless, it's called, and just use the command line to control it remotely. And interestingly, this is the one it specifically recommends. But that wouldn't be very interesting to show, so I'll choose the GUI. Beyond that, the installation process is the same, and eventually you boot up and have to create a user, and here's another difference, which is you can't choose a username, it has to be administrator. Once you boot into Windows, we can check out the more interesting stuff. So the first thing you'll notice is this Server Manager window pops up, which basically is how you configure everything on the server and install different services, which we'll go over. As for the interface, it's basically the same as the Windows 10 desktop, and also with the Windows 10 menu, not the Windows 11 one. You can also see there is zero bloatware, obviously, and you can actually see how little there is in the start menu at all. Another unexpected difference is if you go to shut down the server, it actually asks you the reason and whether it was planned or not. I guess so it can be recorded in log files for reference, since presumably the server shouldn't be shutting down or restarting very often. Someone can go look back, see why that happened. Let's go back to that server manager though, because it's a really central part of what we'll be seeing. Now, to understand what we're looking at, let me give you some context. You see, a Windows server, or any server really, can have one or multiple dedicated purposes, which in Windows Server are called roles. So if you're at a big company, you might have one server that handles network routing stuff like DNS, another one that handles printing, and another one for file storage and backup, or whatever else. So one of the first things you would have to do is install the associated services, they're called, for whatever particular roles you want for this server. And you can see there is an option to add roles and features where you do just that. There are many options, and from my understanding, in most cases, each server will be dedicated to only one or a couple roles, assuming there's the budget for that. But this video is not most cases. We want to see everything, so I'll just enable them all, which again is not something you'd want to do for both performance and security reasons. There's also another list of so-called features, which seem to be additional related tools, so of course I'll go and enable all those as well. Now, after we restart, things start to look a little bit more interesting. All those services we enabled now appear on the left-hand side of the server manager, though there isn't too much to see because none of it is configured. You can see that most of them require you to run a post-deployment configuration, which is fancy talk for you need to set them up. Now, I don't want to go through all that because I wouldn't even know how, but there are a couple we can look into right from the get-go, such as the fax service. We can see how there's menus for accounts, outgoing and incoming settings, and while they're empty, you can at least imagine how this would be used to manage how the server works. There's even a section for cover letter templates that are pre-installed, which I wasn't really expecting. Another example is file and storage services, which looks like it lets you manage storage across many devices and computers. For example, it lets you do stuff like scanning any drives, though I'm not sure how this would all look if there were actually other computers under management. So if you have a huge array of drives arranged in pools, you could manage that sort of thing here. One thing you might have noticed from before is in the start menu, there's a folder called Administrative Tools. You might wonder what that is. And these, for the most part, are the same ones you'd find in regular Windows in the control panel and also in the start menu. However, there are several tools that do not appear in regular Windows, and these seem to be mostly associated with some of the features I enabled from that list before. For example, there's Network Load Balancing Manager, though I don't think most of us would have any use for that. I did make a list though and compare the tools, and these are the ones I found that are only on the server, so you can look at that if you're interested. Again though, many of these seem to only show up if you install a related service or feature. They're not installed with a fresh install of Windows Server. Anyway, moving on from that though, the last cool thing I want to show you exclusive to Windows servers is what's called the Windows Admin Center. You actually have to download this from Microsoft and install it separately, but it allows you to remotely access and control the server via a web interface from any regular computer. And just looking through this, in my opinion, this is way more interesting than the server manager. I think this might be mostly what you'd use after it's all set up and you're just managing the server day to day. You can do stuff like seeing files and storage devices, configure the firewall, even edit the registry of the server. It also lets you see running processes and installed apps, almost like the task manager, as well as see roles and features we installed before. One cool menu is the performance monitor. It lets you add different trackers for performance, like amount of memory and CPU usage, and then have it graphed like this. Or you can have it displayed in other ways, like a table or text or bar charts, whatever. Now, after seeing all this, you might be wondering if Windows Server is something you would be able to or would want to install on an everyday computer. And the answer is technically you could, but you probably don't want to, even if just for the cost alone. The price of the standard edition is $1,069. Which I refuse to believe was not chosen as a meme, and the Data Center edition costs a whopping $6,155. But there's also an Essentials for $501. Okay, seriously, who's coming up with these prices? Anyway, despite these premium prices, as a desktop user, you would get absolutely no benefit. It's not like anything would run any faster. It still uses the same kernel or core of Windows as all the other editions. In fact, some of your devices may not work at all, since those are consumer devices and may not be validated and tested on Windows Server editions, and therefore the drivers may refuse to install on that. Plus, the server version doesn't have many consumer-focused services pre-installed, so things might not work as expected. For example, it's missing the network connected devices auto setup services, parental controls, the Windows backup service, wireless LAN auto config, BitLocker, and more. So don't think you're missing out. But still, now you know more about it if you ever were wondering, and if you are someone who might be able to use Windows Server in the future for one of its true purposes, this might be helpful, at least as a starting point. Thanks again to Crucial for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check out their SSD drives, including the X.
Someone is just like me who streams media and data. Just do it with your old laptop or the system that you're using if it is powerful enough. I mean, not your mainframe, like a separate laptop already. Just to stream media, why do you want to even go into the server versions? First of all, it's very costly. Secondly, even if you pirate it, it's not worth it, because people who want the everyday user experience, the Windows user experience, it is not regular. I mean, that is for managing data and what you're spinning on the server. So better is to just install Jellyfish or Plex, that depends upon your preference, and you can stream anything from there. They have the mobile apps as well, because my main motive for turning this into a server was to communicate between two devices via Ethernet. That I do at work, because a lot of the work thing I have done at my workplace was on my personal laptop. Plus, the hard disk that I showed, that 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte of storage, that particular drive has a lot of graphic, resources, things, scripts, web development stuff, and a lot of different themes for WordPress and stuff like that. So that is all I have to do. I take both of these laptops to the office, and then via Ethernet. One is connected via LAN, and the other port that I am using is to communicate. It is like input. From the input you have the LAN from which the internet is passing on, and then on the other end you put another Ethernet cable to that other laptop to transfer data and stuff like that, and to stream media. I already told it. For me it is Plex. I can open it on my phone. I can open it on any other laptop as well. It is so easy to use, but don't go for like, see, this is my movies folder. Let me just show you how many gigs it is. It's already 74.8 gigs. $77. I told you it's around 100 gigs. It's like quite a lot. Crossed 100. 135 gigs. 100 and it's 136 gigs. My movies and then my music. Like for example, I can use Plex on this system here, and we might have installed it also. No, it's not installed here. I can all the way, but I don't want to. So the music will be comparatively low to what I actually assumed. Eight, 9, 10, 11, 13. Oh, I quoted like 40, 50 gigs, right? It'll be somewhere around, if not completely 50, because it's already 21.6 gigs. Why not download? Lex Media Server. We are crossing 38.8 gigs. It's 39.5 already. See, I quoted 50. It's 39.5 means 40 gigs. So this is what mainly I am on. Movies and documentaries. That is what I stream on a server, and then to communicate, like I just explained. So you see, So I'm installing Plex on this machine as well. I can demonstrate what I'm talking about. Plus I have to fire a Plex there. This hard drive is the port. I have to get it changed because streaming has slowed down, and sometimes I get into a kind of a so after disconnecting it from the cable, what I do is like again reconnect through a USB 3 port, USB 3 to USB 2 converter actually, because the drive, you can listen to all these sounds it's making. It gets so warm once I start spinning, so there is a problem in that drive which I have to solve. Where we can. Can take like a 5-minute break just to have some lunch. Yeah. So let's take like a 10 minutes something, and then I'll get back again. Oh, we spent more than 2 hours together. Alright then, see ya. Coming soon. I'll be right back just after eating.